Good day, paranormal community. Thank you for partaking in this wonderful episode of the Odyssey Files. I'm your host, Michael O'Neill. With me is Mr. Anthony Hernandez. And, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show after a very long hiatus, Mr. David Soyring. Good morning, David.
Hey. Good morning. How is everybody? I'm glad to be back. It's
Glad
been
to
a
be
little bit
on.
of a roller coaster here. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride for me for the last couple months, but the end goal is in sight here. So,
I realized this when you came on the show today. We can always tell how wonderful you're doing by the status of your hair.
And just
But I just want to tell everybody right off the bat.
This is the Odyssey Files Ranch right here, just like we talked about.
This is the Odyssey Files Ranch. For some reason, like Dave, you're coming over like 3 or 4 seconds after talking. It's Dana Mitchell Ranch. Okay, well, Anthony,
Well, so are
you and I.
Plus, you disappear, and then when you come back, you're like moving it off 5 miles a second. Your video is like speeded up.
It's trying to catch up.
Well, we'll see what we can get before it turns into a total clusterfuck.
Way to throw the F-bomb on your very first day back.
First show back, dropping the F-bomb.
All right, let me see if I get this out before I freeze again or somebody freezes. My internet has been terrible.
What are you gonna do?
Oh. Okay, are we all caught up now, or?
I think so. I think Dave's got the hitchhiker thing going on his part.
Okay. Well, Dave, I don't know, but you can hear me, Anthony?
I can hear you.
Okay, then it's Dave's problem this time.
Yes.
Dave, why don't you leave for a quick second?
Problem. I heard that.
Well, whatever. One of us is freezing, and if Anthony can hear me just fine, then it's you. Anyway, my internet has been going crap. I'm using my internet off my phone right now. So yeah, we are going to try and do this, but we're already a half hour late coming on just because I couldn't get anything to work properly, and now Dave can't get anything to work properly, or it's just a combination of the two. I don't know. The only person here that seems to have anything working correctly is Anthony. So as I told him earlier, this will be his first show hosting, because I will probably be gone at some point in time during the show, but the show will go on, hopefully. So until somebody tells me that I am no longer... Yeah, it's your fault, Dave.
I don't know what's happening, man. I got all kinds of weird shit going on over
here. Like I said, so we've dubbed today, even though we're going to be talking about UFOs, UAP, USOs, all this other stuff. We have now dubbed today Odyssey Files Ranch, because we are it's malfunction after malfunction and delay after delay. And it's interesting because some of the things that we talk about are what Skinwalker Ranch is doing, trying to figure out. And the only thing that I'm not going to say is that's weird. I'm not going to say that.
Or high strangeness.
There's a level of high strangeness going on here.
No, shut your whore mouths. We don't use that term on this show. I hate that term. High strangeness. Oh, shut up. If I ever if I ever find out who coined, I do know who coined that. That author that coined that in that book. I can't
Keel.
remember what it is. Was it Keel? Yeah.
Yeah.
If I ever get him on the show, him and I are going to have words.
That would be an interesting show.
It would be an interesting show. It wouldn't last very long, or I'd have to move my complaint to the end of it. be like the spirit box session of my investigations. It's at the end. Okay, so let's try and assume that we're putting on a good audio show for the people who are listening or watching, and just assume we're not freezing up on them. So, moving into what we talked about last week, just as a brief summary. We talked about disclosure and what kind of the government has thrown out. We talked about, what is it, the Mosul orb? What is it called?
The Mosul orb.
Mosul orb, and what was the other one?
The Boogosphere.
The Boogosphere.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
I thought you said you read his research. The Boogosphere.
I didn't see that in there.
Yeah, that's a sphere they found in Bugo, Colombia, and
you're going back to his research prior to. I read this last one, not the face peelers. I read that one. I didn't know you were referencing the face peeler research. I was looking at this research you just sent me.
Oops, did I not send you last week's stuff? Oh, whoops.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. We set this show up for failure.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't have any of that.
We tried to get on it. Long before we tried to get on it. We tried to come on the air. Okay. Anthony, why don't you give him a you kind of already said what the Boogosphere was. What is the Mosul? I already forgot what it's called. Orb.
The Mosul orb was a video that it was actually a still that got released, and basically, I don't know, the community, the skeptics tried to do everything in their power to say it was anything from a pothole to a lens flare to whatever. And then through the Freedom of Information Act, they filed a Freedom of Information Act, and there was a lawsuit involved with that, which got a 4-second clip of the video released eventually. But pretty much it shows that it's not a pothole, not a lens flare. There's actually something there. And it kind of looks like if you were to see it probably in person, I could see how that might look like the Boogosphere, or there's a sphere that was in Texas as well, that it's just one of those metal spheres. Like a good example would be what they showed on Skinwalker Ranch, that one still photo with it in the field.
Yep.
I mean, it could be something like that. But the Mosul orb was actually captured via CIA spy satellite or spy plane that was up in the air, and it was over Mosul in the Arabic area.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're not talking using a disposable camera here to take this, or anything like that. This is a CIA spy plane, so it's got probably 24 megapixels right now. So yeah, I don't see how you mistake something like that for like a pothole unless you're just trying to keep your head buried in the sand.
Oh yeah.
So the big conversation, I think it came up twice during the show, from just different aspects of it. And this is what, we'll start on with your opinion on it, Dave. Is, cause you and I have covered this a lot over the years, and we even brought up, the whole Area 51 and how they, the government tried to enhance and create UFO and alien lore around Area 51 to cover up the fact that they were building those top secret jets and military planes and whatnot. So now with that type of history. And now you have, the Tic Tac video, and you and I have covered that I brought it up last week as well, that, supposedly that's man-made, but the military is like, we can't do stuff like that. We would die. And, but I mean, Chad Kalick got the blueprints for it.
Right.
Sent
Years
to
ago.
him. Yeah. By,
before the video came out, I think.
I think it was right around the same.
It was pretty close.
It was right around the same time. I think the Tic Tac video had come out. That's why it was such a huge deal when he got it. Because at that point in time, it was completely alien. No, what is this thing? It could not be us. We don't have that technology. And then all of a sudden, he's, shipped these blueprints of the Tic Tac. And like the anti-gravity drive, I think is what it was called.
Right.
So, and we're going to talk a little bit, unless Anthony, you want to, since we're on the Tic Tac now, because there's actually this week.
Oh yeah, Ross Coulthart dropped bombs on that thing, saying that he came out on video saying that he knew categorically that it is Lockheed Martin technology, and pretty much said that they're working on 2 platforms. The Tic Tac's one of them, and that it's based off of, they're theorizing it's based off of electrogravitics, which is something back from the 1920s that they discounted as fringe science and threw it out.
Well, they didn't throw it out. They took it underground and they expanded on it. Is what they did. And they got black fund money, the Pentagon's black funds to research and study all that stuff. Because I forget how big that appropriation for that fund is, but it's like, I don't know, $5 billion, and nobody can account for it. They don't know where it is. Billions. Yeah. And they're like, well, where does this money go? Well, that your clearance isn't high enough. You don't need to know.
Yeah, I was going to say there was even though they threw it out back in the 20s and stuff, and they called it fringe science and stuff like that, there actually is an acknowledged Project Winter Haven, which is the basis, or which is a lot of what like Philadelphia projects and stuff like that is supposed to be rumored to be around those things as part of that, his particular piece of science there.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of Nikola Tesla's stuff is being used.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I think
as far as like anti-gravity and stuff like that. I mean, Tesla's stuff, when he passed away, the government went in and raided all of his work and all of his files and everything that he had. It all just disappeared overnight. There's not like a big collection of it in some museum or something. I mean, it's gone.
Well, they've had documentaries that talk about how the FBI and other organizations had on the same floor that he was living at, basically had floors for them to come in. So when he passed, there's rumors that they swooped in and grabbed up stuff and left whatever they didn't want there for everyone else to get.
Yeah.
They took all the good stuff.
So with all of that, and that's coming back, in the 50s and 60s and stuff. And nowadays, you have Congress obviously trying to hold hearings and stuff like that. And you have whistleblowers, and you have people coming out writing books. You add in AI now, and the fact that people can just bring up a video editing software and AI a UFO into, a normal picture of your neighborhood or whatnot. And it looks very, very good. I've seen AI videos. I've not seen one dealing with UFOs yet, but I had a very, very good one of a tornado. Like it was, it was beautiful. It was such a good video, but it was going right behind some houses. And if you looked in between the houses, it's not there. So, so I'm like, apparently, and this was just some random person on Facebook, like their video keeps getting shared and showed up in my feed. So,
I was was going to say, well, hell, there's a video, and it was it was actually a producer who did it, and they even had it on the proof is out there. I mean, I'm sure lots of people have seen it. The plane that does the barrel roll that's landing. I was like, that's fake. I was like, and that looks pretty damn real.
Yeah.
I can totally see that. So the question was, and this is what we want you now that we're 10 minutes into the question, I can ask it. In your opinion, Mr. Soyring,
yeah,
how do you tell the difference, or how can you tell the difference between what is real, whether it's disclosure, whether it's information, whether it's videos, whether it's eyewitness testimony now, between what is genuine and real and what is disinformation, completely made up. The government wants you to go over here, so they're going to let you just have this little information, so you don't pay attention to what's going on over on the other side of things.
Right.
How do you disseminate any of that?
All right. So, my general response to that would be is you can't, because with AI in the picture now, deep fakes are going to become more and more prevalent. But I will say this kind of to offset that, right? If the Disinformation Act and constantly leading us down the wrong path is what the government does for real UFO encounters, because in order for us to you got to remember, in order for us to reverse engineer something, like to create the Tic Tac, and if it is based on reverse engineered technology, and Lockheed Martin is the one who's doing it, they had to get the stuff from somewhere, right? So that means that it came from potentially some type of crashed aircraft, which would be, take us all the way back to Area 51 with the whole weather balloon scandal, which was bullshit, by the way.
That was Roswell.
It wasn't a weather balloon. Huh?
That was Roswell, not Area 51.
Well, right, but that's what kind of started Area 51, is they transported the leftover remains, and then they started disseminating it, and then they started reverse engineering it. So if we have that technology today, it got reverse engineered from somewhere. So there had to have been at least one type of craft available for us to take a look at, right? As far as whether if I think something's legitimate or not, I would stick with mass sightings. So, like, take the Phoenix Lights. Thousands of people saw the Phoenix Lights, including the governor of Arizona and the mayor of Phoenix, who both made a mockery of it until they were out of office. And then when they were interviewed about it, the one guy's like, well, yeah, I went up to South Mountain and wanted to get a better view. So I drove up to South Mountain to the observation area up there, and it was loaded with people, and we watched it fly basically right over us. And it was ginormous, So in a situation like that, where you've got hundreds of different angles, like people taking pictures and videos from different angles in different parts of the state, and they all report the same thing, that's a legitimate sighting. If it's just something that you see on the internet, on YouTube, I would just take it with a grain of salt and say it's just somebody having fun with AI technology. Although, months ago, when I called you, Mike, and told you about it right after it happened, I saw that I was sitting in this bed looking out my windows right there, and I saw that big flash of light in the sky, and next thing you know, there's a big craft coming, and I got the window open, and I'm listening to it, and I'm watching it, and it's dead silent. There's absolutely no noise whatsoever, and the closer it got, the bigger it got, and it went right over the top of me. It didn't make a single noise, and it was pretty damn big, and in a diamond shape. So I don't know what that was. It didn't look like any aircraft I'd ever seen, though.
So, I mean, not to dig into this experience of yours, but the flash of light.
Yeah.
Because this is something that I think is seen a lot, even on Skinwalker Ranch, which is already being brought up for the second time in this show, and we're only 21 minutes in. But that's been seen there. I mean, do you believe that could be? And Anthony, you can chime in on this as well. It's, I don't know if you want to call it a interdimensional gate where they pop in here.
It's a tear.
The door opening.
Yeah, right. I mean, do you think it's a door that they use to travel long distance? Wormhole for better terminology.
A wormhole, portal. I mean, yeah, I was going to say it's basically something opening that wasn't there. I think they've seen it in several different sightings and stuff like that. There's just I don't know if it's dimensional or like the wormhole type thing, but yeah, it makes sense to me.
I mean, I will say this to kind of back this up, and this is off track a little bit, but it stays in line with seeing the colors. The 3 times that I have had a definitive spirit encounter, and I've had more than 3, but 3 that I'm just thinking off the top of my head, all 3 times, and I know I've told you this, Mike, there was that bright ass green flash of light. And I say green, but it's not the color green. There is no color green like this color green. And it happened at the cemetery that day. And it happened at the basement at the restaurant in Lindstrom. And it happened one other time. And as soon as I see that flash, immediately that is a presence appearing in our location. And it was documented through audio, at least, every single time that happened. So if a human spirit creates some type of energy when it appears in your location, it makes total sense to me that if you've got something that's interdimensional, that when it shows up in your location, there's going to be some type of atmospheric confusion. It's bringing its energy into our energy, and they're not compatible. So you've got this craft coming in, you've got our atmosphere. They're 2 different things. It's almost like it flies through and creates a tear, and then a tear on its way. I can't explain why I saw that bright flash of light, but that's what caught my eye. And out of that bright flash of light, out of the corner of my eye, when I started watching it, that ship came. So,
So this is why the show's 90 minutes. So I know that it's a TV show, and I'm not talking about Star Trek this time, although I probably will at some point in this episode. But if you look at the technology that they had in Quantum Leap, where he hit a few buttons on a pad, a doorway opened, and I can't remember Dean Stockwell's character's name. Was it Al?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Because
I don't know.
I remember the computer was Ziggy. Scott Bakula was Sam, and I can't. I thought it was Al, probably short for AI. But yeah, he would just hit some buttons on the thing, a door would open, and he would step through it, and he'd be back in his time, or he'd be in Sam's time, or whatnot. I mean, maybe who you saw with that flash of green. Maybe it was time travel.
Maybe.
I don't know. I want to get off that topic. I already hate it. I want to get back to since we just talked about the Tic Tac, let's stay on that for a second here. So, Anthony, who's the guy that went on video? Because I never recognized his name. Who is he, and why should we listen to him?
Ross Coulthart. He's a well-known reporter and an investigative journalist. He's on News Nation now, and he digs a lot. And he started with going to write a book debunking UFOs. So his initial into the foray of this stuff was he was going to write something, debunk it, throw it out, and move on to the next story. I think he's done a lot of world journalists and stuff like that. So he's been in a lot of conflict zones and stuff like that. And he found the more he dug into it, the weirder, the harder to explain, the more it seemed not far-fetched, and there were people and governments covering up the fact that there were things going on. So he actually wrote a book on it, and I haven't read his, but it's supposed to be pretty good as far as information and stuff like that goes. And I've seen some of his newscasts, and they're pretty good. He goes from one extreme to another. He's talked with Bledsoe. He's talked with Jake Barber. He's talked with Elizondo. He's pretty much talked to them all. And the Tic Tac thing that came out of left field because he was doing an interview with, I think, one of his friends. And basically they got into the conversation of the Tic Tac video and how it proved like all this stuff. And he was like, no, it's man-made. No, for a fact. And they were trying to press him on sources, and he wouldn't name the source because he didn't want to, he basically didn't want to put that person's name out there at the time.
I see. So, Dave and I talked obviously many years ago about the Tic Tac, and I still can't remember his damn name.
There's several people associated with it. So you got
no. That's not what I mean. The guy that told Dave and I. Do you remember our friend from Australia?
Yeah.
I can't for the life of me remember his name.
I can't either. Now that you just said that, but yes, I can see his face.
So can I, Craig? There we go.
Craig.
Woohoo!
Yep.
As soon as you said I can see his face, and I pictured his face, all of a sudden his name popped in my head.
Yep. We haven't talked to him for a while, but he had all kinds of weird shit happening in his life.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's the one that told us off the air. I mean, but it's out now, so we can talk about it. But before Chad Kalick even came out on video with the fact that he had this anti-gravity device blueprints that's supposed to be in the Tic Tac, Dave and I already knew about it. And then Chad obviously came out. Phantom Rider, I believe, was the name of the something like that, where he talked about Daniel David Skyfall. Let's have a name with that thing too, but that was a pseudonym or alias for the guy who whistle blew and sent Chad these blueprints. But now you have somebody coming out, an investigative journalist who's been looking into this stuff forever, saying that yes, it is our technology. So, in your guys' opinion, why is that not on the on the news every night, or in the newspapers, or everywhere? And part two of this question: do you believe this debunks a lot more sightings?
Okay.
No.
So I'm going to say the reason we don't see it every day is because they're trying to weaponize it. And that makes total sense. They're not going to talk about something that they're going to weaponize. So with that in mind, I mean, that's just my simple answer. There's nowhere else to go on that. I think that they're going to try to create this as some type of, end game type of weapon where you won't have conventional warfare anymore. And what was your second question? Does it what?
Does it disprove a lot of other sightings? Because Dave, you and I have talked. Well, you and I have talked about it. We brought this up. Anthony brought this up last week as well. It was your and my discussion about the drones that were going over New Jersey. Yeah. And what else could they be? And stuff like that. And we talked about whether they were a military red flag type mission. And so, I mean, could the Tic Tac be just the next prototype in line? Could not every, let me change that. Could some of the other sightings that people have had throughout the last couple decades be prototypes for what the Tic Tac is now? And Anthony, I want you to go first because I didn't get your answer to the first part.
Yes, I think they could be misidentified. Is it every single one? No, I don't, because if following his theories and the sources that he has on there, it is a reproduction vehicle, which means there has to be a source. There's a source somewhere. And the other thing that he talked about with that is he actually did start addressing stuff from the Jersey stuff. He pointed to a 60-minute interview, which I had not even heard of until they talked about it. And then I went and looked at it and could not believe that this was not bigger news at the time, because you have the two basically commanding generals of North American airspace that came on a 60-minute interview and said that this stuff was not ours. They ended up having to move the bombers out of there to a different base because they couldn't protect them. They were worried about the drones dropping ordnance and stuff on them, kind of like what Ukraine did to Russia. And they said that basically that those things were not hobbyists, and they basically went against everything that the official government was putting out, because they were saying that they thought those things were actually a product of China and them demonstrating that they have similar technologies to the Tic Tacs and could basically operate in impunity in our airspace, and there was nothing that we could really do to see or stop them.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
I don't believe that it's Chinese technology, because why would you cut? First of all, why wouldn't you hit someplace on the West Coast, which would make more sense? Why would you come all the way to New Jersey? And secondly,
why would you choose New Jersey anyways?
Well, I'm just saying. Secondly, there's a guy who on the Sean Ryan show, I don't know if you guys watch that show, but it's an amazing podcast. And he had a guy on who actually discussed all of that, and had said that it's been going on. They've documented it for the exact same time frame for the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. Happens every year around Christmas time. The same technology, the same type of events happen, the same drones. And this guy actually had boots on the ground with special forces units in the location. And he said that he saw everything from things the size, obviously, like we read in the paper, SUVs, down to basketballs. But he said some of the stuff that he and his guys that were in his unit were observing were clear spheres that had a soft glow to it that you could see inside. And inside was like a black mechanical type of object, like almost like it was intelligent and controlling this ball, this orb. And it was actually moving. And then that kind of goes back to when Doug was telling us about that ball that showed up over the deck of his house when they were outside sunbathing on his back deck. And all of a sudden he looks up and there's this clear orb with this black mechanical type of thing inside of it, just observing them. I don't think that's Chinese technology. I don't think that's anybody's technology. I'm not saying that China isn't as intelligent as us when it comes to being able to produce stuff like that. I mean, I think that you'd be a fool not to think that they probably have more advanced technology than we do anyway. Just take a look at their AI program. We're spending hundreds of billions of dollars or hundreds of millions into billions of dollars to fund our AI technology and increase it. China has just citizens in the country that work together like a hive mentality that have already surpassed our AI technology, and it's not costing them anything. They're already ahead of us. So could it be them? I don't know. Maybe some of the shit on the West Coast, maybe. But was the New Jersey thing them? I don't think so. You know, they were trying to blame it on Iran or Iraq or whatever, how they had like a carrier out at sea, and you know, they were launching the drones from there and bringing them over. Again, what's the propulsion system, right? There has to be some sort of propulsion system. These things can't just move on their own. They have to have some sort of way to move through space. So if you're launching them from a ship 50 miles or 100 miles out in the ocean, and then you launch them towards New Jersey to the Air Force Base in the river in New Jersey, how are they getting there? And then how are they getting back? What type of propulsion system are they using? And that guy, and I can't remember what he said, but the guy answered that question of what he thought it was on that interview he did with Sean Ryan. And he said that this is not a propulsion. We don't have anything like this. And this guy was like in the Black Ops. He knows a lot of people. He wasn't dropping names, but he said he talked to a lot of people about it, and that that they are basically just shaking their heads. And he thought it was definitely not any type of human-made technology. He thought it was something that was unexplainable.
But that brought up the whole discussion of whether they were holograms or not.
Correct.
Because whether they have a propulsion system, because another conversation that was brought up, not just in general with this topic, was battery life. Their drones, how are they lasting that? How are they lasting that long?
Right.
I believe some of them just disappeared, out of thin air. And didn't you also tell me that there was no thermal signature?
There's no thermal signature.
Yeah, there's no thermal signature on them. So, I mean, you put all of that together and you either have something that is completely shielded from everything and has a cloaking device, which then blocks everything and has no thermal signature, or it's not there to begin with. And if it's not there, then that means it's a hologram. And so that brought up obviously years of my yeah, I mean, but that brought up my question of whether they were testing it out. Can they fool the general populace into believing that what they are seeing is there, and how they react to that? And
it'd be kind of dangerous
again,
to do it 3 years in a row, I think. I could see that being a one-off.
I think you're
one-off thing.
I think you're wrong on that one.
3 years.
I think you're wrong on the numbers on that one. I think he said it happens every 3 years. So it happens once, 3 years go by, and then it happens again. I think he said it happened 3 years ago, and then it happened 3 years ago before that. But always at Christmas time.
Right. Always at that same time frame.
Always at Christmas time. Always for about 3 weeks.
Yep.
And always in the same area.
Except
this time they went above and beyond, because the guy had said it usually happens over that air base.
Yep.
This time they included the general populace in it, and that air base.
And it went to civilian air bases.
Right. Well, yeah, they just
civilian airfields. Yeah.
They expanded their perimeter to include a whole bunch of different places.
Right.
But again, it's so tough and such a complex question as to what is us, what isn't. Because it seems every time that it could be us, you obviously have the people say, no, it can't be us because we don't have that. And then it turns out we do. Like, how many people, even the Navy pilots that took the Tic Tac video, were like, we can't even survive those type of maneuvers. We don't have that type of propulsion system. We don't have that technology. Now it's coming out from that risk. If he's to be believed, obviously throw it with a grain of salt because he doesn't have the proof. He has the sources, not the proof. But then you have Chad Kalick that has the blueprints. Right. Apparently we do. We do have that technology. So how do we not have the technology to try and fool a bunch of people with a bunch of holograms?
Well, my thing on, or at least a possibility on that is, what if it was a mixed? What if it is ours, theirs, and the real deal? What if it brought it all out?
And Dave and I have talked about that too. Are they working together? And you and I kind of talked about that last week as well. Is this a mutual agreement?
But we've had dozens of shows where people have their beliefs that, there's reptilians and the praying mantis, and that they're actually instilled in our government. Mm-hmm. That some of our leaders are actual hybrids. And so if you really go with that mentality, they obviously came from somewhere. They didn't just materialize on our planet. Like, it wasn't a beam me up, Scotty moment. They had to get here somehow. So, or they've been here before us. I mean, that's another possible answer, is that they were here before mankind was here. That we're the ant farm, so to speak, and they're the ones that are in control. Even though nobody, we take too much pride as a human being to want to accept that answer. But here, I got a question for you before it escapes my mind here. So I know you're talking about the Tic Tac, and I think the gimbal that was pulling G's, that they said that basically you would just be red pasta sauce. That there's no way you can handle the G-force inside the gimbal, the way it was turning against the wind and stuff, that you'd just be liquefied if that was a human being in there. But my question for you guys is, how do you explain the Tic Tac actually going subsurface in the ocean and not making any type of splash? So how does a physical object breach the water and not leave any type of commotion that it did so? Because that, thinking about what you said, Mike, with holograms, that almost makes more sense to me, that would be a hologram that they just, that went underwater and then they followed it underwater, and then it came back out again. But it didn't leave a splash or any type of entry point or exit point that was discernible on those cameras. And those cameras are the cameras that protect our country. I got to imagine they're pretty damn good at what they do, as far as being able to determine and pick up, details. So, I mean, what do you guys think? How do you create a physical object that breaches the water, never leaves a mark?
Well, if I'm recalling right, Fravor did say that the water was bubbling and it was acting weird, like something was under there. If I am recalling right, if that was that particular incident, which I'm not 100% positive of, but I want to say that one of the Navy incidents that they saw, the water was bubbling and stuff like that. Like they said they described it as something under the water.
Right. I'm talking about the actual video when they're following the Tic Tac on the Navy fighters, and it actually goes sub under the water. Like in that video.
I think if you follow the science behind it, or at least what they're talking the science could be, is the electrogravitics, and that would basically control the gravity. So that would eliminate, it basically operates in a vacuum, is what they describe that as, that technology.
So enlighten me on this technology. Is this what did you guys talk about this last week?
No, this is
not we brought it up, but we didn't actually go into details on what the technology actually is.
All right. Well, give me an overview so I can get a somewhat of an understanding of this technology, because is it just a push-pull relationship, to simplify it, like between two magnetic polarities?
Basically, Townsend found when you put high voltage through a wire that goes to a metal plate, it caused the plate to lurch forward. And they basically say that's ion wind, and then it got dismissed and basically buried, even though the military looked into it with the project afterwards. And basically science at the time said that it couldn't operate in a vacuum, which would have been the anti-gravity portion of it. But he was insistent up until his death that it worked in a vacuum, and he could prove it. But it, much like Tesla, I mean, he got basically got pushed to the side and his work ignored.
Right. Intentionally, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I mean, it fits in the technology and how it's described, at least to my understanding of it, falls in line with what you would see in the Tic Tac and would definitely explain some of the things that it could do and we currently cannot. And that's basically saying that someone has figured out a part of physics that the general public has not yet.
So just for clarification, the people who were following it saw it go into the water, saw it under the surface, and then saw it come out, or they just saw it go in?
Are you asking me?
And then, I think, yeah, either one of you. And then it came back out, and they never saw it under the water. Did they see it under the water?
The video that I
see it go in and come out?
The video I saw, it dropped. It was at like 20,000 feet, and in
80.
like a millisecond, it dropped right to the surface of the water, and it skimmed along the surface of the water, and then it dropped below the surface, and then they kind of kept following it where they thought it would be, and then it popped back out.
Okay, so they didn't actually video. They didn't actually see it under the water.
They did not actually see it under the water. No.
Okay. So, all right. So that's what I wanted to know. Because if they could see it under the water, then it has to be there, because I don't think any projection would be able to keep its cohesion under the water.
Right.
But if it is a hologram, then sure, they could show it hitting the water and disappearing under the water and then coming right back out, a little ways later or whatever, and it's the same projection.
Right.
Like I can't imagine let's just say, for the sake of argument, this hologram program is real. I don't know if it is. They're going to want to test it in all sorts of ways, doing all sorts of different things, not just hovering and kind of appearing, but it's going to have to do nosedives. And it's going to have to do something like go under the water and come to see if the smoothness, see if it loses cohesion, to see, if it drops 20,000 feet or 80,000 feet in a couple seconds. I'm going to want to see, if I'm running this program, if it keeps its shape or does it streak out. Because, you and I on cameras and stuff like that, we've seen it where people walking down an aisle, real people, turn translucent.
Right.
Because the camera is a certain way. Obviously that's IR and stuff like that. But you're going to want to do these tests, and you're going to want to do it against the best. It's no different than a company hiring the best hackers in the world to test their security systems. You're going to want to test it against the best. And I don't know if that's real or not, but
my thing with the hologram is, where did it project from?
My original theory was a satellite. There's some sort of satellite that's able to do it. If Google Earth can see me sun tanning in my backyard, they can do all sorts of stuff. Who's to say that that's not what Starlight is, really? Like a projection matrix where they all put, they all have some
piece to it.
Something.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because Starlight is a government project, right? That's a government.
It's Musk, but
I know it's Musk, but I know he built it. But is that a government contract to put that up? Because military does use it.
I think it's his.
I know it's his, but I guess my question is, who funded it?
I think he self-funded that. It's the Starlink system you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Way to pay attention, Dave.
Well, you called it Starlight twice, so I'm just trying to discern between Starlink. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Starlink. Starlink. My bad.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if that was what you were talking about or not, so I'm just checking with you.
Yes.
But I think it's self-funded. And then what he does is he self-funded it, and then he sells advertising space on it, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he's doing.
Advertisement space.
That's what he's doing, right? He's like, hey, I got this system in place. Do you want to use it? I got X amount of bandwidth. Do you want to use some of it for a project? And people are like, yeah. And he's like, okay, write me a check for X amount of dollars and you can do what you want to do. It's up in orbit. I mean, you got to remember, this is the guy who really knows how much money he has, because the last two launches, the last two launches were both catastrophic failures, but the last launch took the whole freaking pad out. I mean, like, everything is gone, man.
That wasn't even a launch. It was a test.
It was, and he's like, yeah, it's just a glitch. It's no big deal. It's a bump in the road or whatever he said, something sarcastic like that. And I'm like, well, how many hundreds of millions of dollars was that glitch or that bump in the road, you know? And it didn't even seem to faze him. So I think Starlink is his. I don't think that's a government deal. I think it's his project.
I do think that's part of the problem. There's so much of this stuff that's privatized now on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, sure, because the Freedom of Information Act, you can't get anything from a private individual.
Nope.
That's why anytime they want to hide something, they give it to Lockheed Martin, or they give it to Skunk Works, or they give it to whoever they want, because the Freedom of Information Act doesn't apply.
They had, the person who put out the explanation and stuff for not the one that blew up, but the when they actually launched it and it blew up in the air. It was, God, I laugh my ass off every time I hear it. They call it like abrupt, like deconstruction or something like that. Like that was their terminology for blowing up. I mean, it was so hilarious.
Rapid decompression.
No, it wasn't decompression. It was, I'm trying to find it, but I know that there was, I'm not going to look too much for it. It was just hilarious. But there's a video of the Daily Show played it, and it was it was either the Daily Show or no, it was Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. He played the video with the people on the radios that were doing the test. As it exploded, you just hear like silent alarms. You're, oh my God. I mean, their reaction to it was just one of like absolute stunned silence. It was so amazing to watch. But going back obviously to the Tic Tac and whatnot, which, Dave, I got to give you full kudos, as rusty as you are. Great segue.
Thank you.
To doing USOs, because that is something although that is something I haven't heard about in a while. So, Anthony, you're a resident researcher. I mean, I know, Dave, I think just before you were about to leave, we were planning on doing a show on USOs because something had, I can't remember now, it was so long ago, something had come was put in the news.
Well, it was that, and I had watched that documentary on the Catalina Island.
Yeah, I was
going
to say,
do the show about Catalina Island, where they had the fishing ships were having gigantic lights, like massive circular lights underneath them at nighttime when it was pitch black, and then they would start rising towards the surface, and the water was bubbling, and the fishermen were freaking out, like, and hauling ass out of there, because they were afraid they were going to get sucked under for whatever this was. And there's no explanation for what it was. But they said it was like the size of a football field, some of them. And they didn't think they were going to get to the edge and get the hell out of there before it drew the ship under. And these aren't little fishing boats. These are commercial fishing boats, like, that are out there, you know, for weeks at a time type of size. And they were running for their lives. And that we had talked about that. And Catalina Island's a hotspot for USOs. That whole area right out there.
So was the doc that you saw, was that Naps, or was that somebody else's?
Well, I saw Naps too, but this one I'm talking about was something else's, but Naps as well when they had the camera rolling.
Because they caught it, part of it.
Yeah, and the thing came down and went underwater and stayed illuminated underwater. I found that to be absolutely amazing, because if it was some type of flare or something like that, you would see that, flares. I don't know if you guys have ever seen flares, but they actually spit little as the flares, the manganese or whatever, they spit little sparks like a sparkler would. And
I've seen
when it goes underwater like that, flares can burn underwater if they're hot enough, I think. But this was pretty impressive. And it looked like it even paused when it got to a certain depth and just illuminated a huge area.
Yeah, there's no way that you could convince me that what they showed on the camera on NAP stuff was a flare of any. I mean, no.
I don't think it was a flare. No. I mean, I thought it was amazing. I thought that was an amazing capture. And it was on, and taking them at face value, it was an unmanned camera. Everybody was sleeping. It was just cameras that were set up just to observe while everybody was sleeping overnight. And then they found, the evidence the next day. But there's something going on over there at those Catalina Island caves. Is there an underground base? I don't know.
I think that's a theory that's going around, which there's been more than just him out there that have gone out there and caught the lights and stuff. And they pretty much, it's like going to Skinwalker or to Sedona or whatever. Like, you can go out there and watch the light show because it happens pretty often.
Yeah.
So do you think then, because obviously back a decade ago, and before that, secrecy seemed to be the number one thing. Like, it was such an amazing feat if an entire town or something like that saw these lights, and that was in the sky.
Yeah.
So now, in the last couple of years, you have the Tic Tac, you have the drones, you have the USOs who apparently can do it. You have CE5s. You've documented. Do you think that the time for secrecy is just over and they don't care who sees now? Because the believers are going to believe and the disbelievers are going to disbelieve.
I kind of think that would lean more towards what Greer and Bledsoe and Barber and all of them are saying, where regardless of if we're ready or not, that it's coming. The secrecy thing, I think, has done more harm than good for any of that stuff. I think I want to say it was 1960s that they had NASA do a report that basically said that it would be catastrophic if they announced that stuff, and people would. I mean, even we talked about it last week, where people would definitely be drinking Kool-Aid and stuff like that about the end of the world and stuff. But I mean, the longer you hide it, I can't see it getting any easier to bring this stuff out. As a matter of fact, I would think it just becomes more complex and more convoluted.
My question is there a date in place where the ship is going to land in Central Park or at Wrigley Field or on the outskirts of LA or on Catalina Island or someplace where we already know that things are happening? Is there a date in place when a craft is actually going to land and show us that it's real? And is all of this baby steps to that?
If there's one thing that people in government, especially, that are doing right now, it's trying to normalize shit that has never been normal.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now you have all these UFO sightings. You have the Tic Tac. You have the videos. You have the eyewitnesses. You have the books being written. You have the congressional stuff coming out. You even have some news organizations are covering it every once in a while. I do believe that this could definitely be an attempt to normalize that type of thing, to the point where if you came over a news thing and somebody had a report where a ship landed on the front lawn of the White House, people like us would be like, about time,
Right.
Nobody would be surprised by it.
No,
well, of course it is.
Right.
Well, of course. And so to your question, Dave, on is there a set date? No, I don't think there's a set date. I think there's a set time. When they see the population of the country, maybe even the world, get to a certain point of normalization with UFOs, UAPs, USOs, whatever, then I think they will do it. And is that Bledsoe's next step to thing that's supposed to happen next year around Easter, according to him? Who knows? But Anthony and I talked, and Dave, you and I have as well. And so I'm going to ask this question because you and I have talked. We've all talked about it. So I want to get your impression on this, Dave. You and I are ready. Anthony is ready. I think a lot of people who follow this type of aspect of the paranormal are all ready for that. Like, it's not even going to be surprising. It's about time.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, based on religious views, based on any type of belief, do you think society as a whole is ready?
I think that there's going to be a major impact between an alien spaceship landing and religion.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is probably going to be the biggest. I think it's going to turn out that that's going to be the biggest conflict or biggest stumbling block, is going to be the different faiths around the world and the fact that there actually exists an alien race. I think the general populace, throwing religion aside for a minute, I think the general populace is probably ready for limited exposure. I don't know. I don't think any of us are ready for 10,000 ships landing all across the planet, right? I think like one ship, two ships type of thing. I think that
Seuss book.
General populace is ready for that, throwing religion out of the question for the moment. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I think it's going to be very humbling when it happens, to be honest with you, because, as America, we run around beating our chests like wild apes about how powerful we are and how great we are, and we're the best thing since sliced bread, and and we are, I guess, in a relative way. I mean, I guess compared to some other nations, we are advanced. We do have better quality of life than other places, but if an alien race shows up, right, that has the ability to come from some distant galaxy to our planet, I'm going to assume it's going to be like Mars Attacks. Like, they're just going to be able to, like when they come out, there isn't going to be any defense system. Like, our defense system isn't going to do shit. Neither is China's, neither is Russia's. I mean, nobody's defense system is going to do anything. So it's going to be a very humbling experience when the power is stripped from mankind and given to a different species.
So, two things that I want to bring up. The first one, here, in my belief, my opinion, here I think is going to be one of the final signs that they are about to expose themselves completely out in public. The ship's about to land. When you have the Pope, no matter what Pope it is, Pope Leo right now or a future Pope, when you have them start to talk about how God did not create human life or life on Earth but he created life in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole part of, especially the Catholic religion, is God made us and only us. And so people will lose their minds, as Anthony said, they're going to drink the Kool-Aid when they find out that's not correct. But if the narrative is changed to include not only humans, but all life, all planets, all the stars, then they're going to be able to shift people's beliefs that if aliens did land, that does not go against what they want to believe in a higher power.
Right.
And I think that is going to be the final straw before, once they start moving that arrow a little bit more to the left or right, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
And people start to believe that, okay, it's not only us, it's okay because the Pope said so to believe in other life, that God created the universe.
Right.
And not just us, then they will land.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that the narrative coming from the church is going to have to change to be inclusive of all life.
And honestly, they're already doing it. I mean, you had the Pope Francis start including homosexuals, saying that's okay, saying there's a place in heaven for agnostics or atheists or whatever. That was a big change.
Yeah.
So you're already starting to see them expand a little bit. I don't think it's going to be too much longer before they start to. Somebody's going to ask Pope Leo about his take on an alien race. Somebody is eventually, and he's going to be like, God created all life, not just human life, and the shift is going to be made right there. And they're going to focus on that answer, that explanation. The other thing, and this goes to your thing on the humbling part of it. I actually, who knows, maybe that was why I chose it last night. I watched Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to fall asleep and whatnot. And it always makes me laugh. Like the one thing that those movies do an exceptionally job of is make the military look like morons.
Yeah.
And the fact that they keep sending the planes, they keep sending they had a bunch of people with AK-47s firing at the flipping, Kihora or whatever the hell his name is. I'm like, what do you expect that to do? But the thing that always makes me laugh, specifically in that movie, is at the very beginning they're having that congressional hearing, and they're talking about whether the humans should get rid of the Titans or not. And the lady who's leading it goes, "Oh, so we would make Godzilla our pet." And I'm like, and obviously Sarah Sal's like, "No, we would be his."
Yeah.
And everybody's like all in an uproar. Oh my God, I can't believe it. We would. Like, we have such a humongous pile of arrogance just in this entire world that we're the top of the food chain. Like, I honestly wonder if we would not start the war. Like, we're all worried about aliens attacking us. I can't imagine that if we're not in cahoots with them already, that if they landed, that we would not attack them first.
Oh, for crying out loud. Trump would declare open season on an alien race. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind.
I think Mike dropped.
He did. Yeah, he's out.
I was going to say, it's funny that he says that because on May 9th, they talked about the Catholic Church being open to talk about disclosure and that our place in the universe with Pope Leo.
Well, see, you just had to get somebody from Chicago in there, right? You got a hot beef sandwich in one hand, you got a cold bud in another. He's the reincarnation of Harry Carey. Here's what he needs to do. He needs to open up the catacombs of the Vatican and then do a lottery draw so that I can get chosen to go down in there and see all the stuff that is hidden in the catacombs of the Vatican. Because I've heard it's like worse than the Smithsonian as far as the stuff that they have down there that went against Catholicism, right? So like, even the giants, like, and I believe that those existed. I believe that in Illinois and other parts of the country that there were people there was a race of people that were giants. I mean, they had pictures and photographic evidence. They dug them up. They had all kinds of stuff. And then the Smithsonian came and whoop, they're all gone, and the Smithsonian has them. They're just they're hidden in their archives. It totally reminds me of Raiders of the Lost Ark when they take the Ark of the Covenant and they're putting it away at the end and they turn the lights on. And I'll never forget, I was in the movie theater when I saw that. And I was just like, holy shit, look at the amount of stuff they have. It was just enormous. And my mind was racing like, which one of those is a spacecraft? Which one of those is, in my mind is just going and I'm at the movie theater, but that's the way my mind's working because I've always been like that. I know that there's amazing things that people are afraid of, or it would buck the system that they're trying to keep everybody corralled into. And Catholicism's one of them. I think that's why the Vatican has so much great stuff hidden.
As you're talking about that, Dave, about the where's the spaceship and whatnot, like I just got it into my head that it's just sitting back in a corner with a tarp over it.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, there are people out there obviously that know the answers.
Oh yeah.
So
I think Bob Lazar knows. I think Bob Lazar is right on point. I know a lot of people have written him off, but I tell you what, there's been some people that have reviewed his evidence and stuff like that have said he walked them through the facilities. They were there. He knew exactly where he was going. The people that were there knew him and waved and nodded to him and stuff like that. He was not out of place. And the government tried to say he never existed there, that he never worked in those facilities. Yet when they actually went through those facilities, he knew exactly where he was, and the people there knew him. So that's a bunch of shit from the government right there. I don't doubt that he worked on that stuff. And I can't remember the name of the compound. It's an element, like element 150.
Oh.
Or something like that, where they actually created it, but it only existed for a microsecond in a collider. But it did exist to prove the existence of it. They actually were able to formulate it and actually have it materialize for like a second before it was unstable and it just dissipated.
Sounds like element
115.
Well, matter and antimatter, right? Two giant opposites that come together.
But the anti-gravity and stuff he talks about falls in line with the Tic Tac and all the other stuff they're talking about now.
Sure it does. I've been watching a lot of his stuff as I've been kind of laid up for some reason. I've been attracted to kind of learning more about the guy. There's some fascinating things and some stuff that he talks about. And the people that have interviewed him and sat with him for hours at a time, and they're like, I don't see any deception whatsoever. And these are guys who interview thousands and thousands of people and can spot bullshit a mile away. And they just don't think he's lying.
No, I think he was picked because he was intelligent and he knew what he knew. And I think they picked him because of the quirkiness of him and the things that he had done. So they saw that as a control measure for him.
Yeah. Well, that his wife was cheating.
Yeah.
So they always had him by the balls on that one because, so, I mean, because he didn't know that was happening, but they wiretapped his phones and they were listening to his wife's affair via telephone, and he was totally clueless as to what was going on. But they always had that over his head too.
I don't know a lot about Bob Lazar. I'm on the fence, just in general.
I tell you, a lot of the stuff he said is either has happened or is on the verge of happening. And Anthony's right with the TikTok and stuff. Like a lot of the propulsion systems he talked about, it would make sense that like the gimbal, like that propulsion system, just in what it was doing, how did the actual physical object not implode with the kind of G's that it was pulling? I mean, we all know an airplane and a pilot can handle, fighter pilots can handle an incredible amount of G's, right? That's what they're trained to do. But there is a limit even to the aircraft. And if you push past that G limit, that plane will just disintegrate because it just can't handle it.
But if you operate it in a vacuum, kind of take that out of the equation.
Correct.
Well, either that or you come up with an element, a type of metal or whatever that can handle it.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that's not affected by gravity. Or slices through gravity easier. Like the stuff they're pulling out of Skinwalker out of the Mesa. Right? I mean, they just found more of it and a large quantity of it. And it was magnetic.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Well, those are the episodes that aren't out yet, Dave.
So here's something for you. If you read, you said you didn't get that last email with that stuff in there. Did you see that they launched their own satellite now?
No. Skinwalker Ranch.
They have a low Earth orbit, and they're supposed to release it to insiders shortly before it goes public about everything about it. But the details are supposed to be coming soon. But they have a satellite in orbit now above the ranch.
Well, you know what? I mean, I don't want to stay on Skinwalker Ranch, but whatever is there, whatever that bubble is, they've mapped it out. I mean, it exists.
Well, do you watch Beyond or no?
Yeah.
So they're seeing some of the same stuff at other places. So at Bradshaw Ranch in Sedona, and can't think of that mountain that's in California. The one that
Mount Shasta?
Shasta and stuff like that. They're seeing the same kind of signals and the same kind of features in these places that they're finding at Skinwalker too. So, I mean, a lot of these places have a lot of stuff in common. Bradshaw's
where the owner's wife took the photograph out the kitchen window when she was doing dishes, where the sky tore open. Like I was talking about earlier, it literally tore open and there was another world, but another universe behind that. And she took a picture of it.
Well, that's one of the research things that Coulthard did was going out to Bradshaw Ranch, and they did GPR, and they found a cement tunnel that leads in the direction of Camp Navajo, which is a military base going from one of the cement factories out there or something that goes directly under Bradshaw Ranch.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. So why would you be connected to Bradshaw Ranch? I mean, right now it's like, I think it's, I forget what college it is, but there's like a college is supposedly is just doing some type of study out there,
Yeah, but all the cameras are pointed inward.
Right, which is interesting. Yeah.
Now, hold on. He didn't say it connected to Bradshaw Ranch. He said it went underneath Bradshaw Ranch. He was connected to, he said, like a cement factory or something like that.
Yeah, there's a cement factory out there it's Native American owned, and they're saying that the government, or at least the theory is that the government paid them and they bust people into the cement factory to get into the underground system that connects out there for whatever reason.
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right. Right?
Sounds about right.
Just going to work at the cement factory today, nothing to see here. And then you go down a couple of flights, and then you get into the train car, and then you go down through the concrete tube, and you show up at the Air Force Base.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds right.
The only way to travel.
Exactly.
Like I said, not a rabbit hole, more like a bottomless pit when you start digging into this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And to your point, Anthony, because you'd said this earlier, and we got mixed up in all kinds of other things. And crap, now it disappeared. Oh, Michael. Oh, what are you doing? I had something that you had said earlier, and now it's gone. It'll come to me in a second. But so we only got about 10 minutes left. So did we cover everything that we wanted to cover today, Anthony?
Pretty much. you're never going to cover it all because there's so much to it.
Yes, indeed.
I do think it's going to come out. I don't think it. I don't know if there's, like you said, the timeline. I think just the weight of the secrets are going to break this stuff out because there's too many factors involved with it at this point now.
Dave, what do you think? Just in general of disclosure.
Okay. So I believe that the gimbal and the Tic Tac videos are real. I don't think that the fighter pilots coming off the Nimitz are lying about it. I think that the officers that were on the Nimitz off of, I don't remember if it was California or Virginia, but they were off one of the two coasts and they saw there was like disturbances underwater, like Anthony was talking about earlier, where there was like a large disc that was rising up out of the water. It did not actually come all the way out of the water, but it was rising up. You've got the USO stuff by Catalina Island, same kind of concept. You've got spacecraft rising from under the oceans, rising up. If they're going to throw the Tic Tac out there and they're going to throw the gimbal video out there and they're going to open up these congressional hearings, then they really need, in my opinion, they need to stop dicking around and they need to open the floodgates and they need to take all of the stuff that they have hidden and all of the other incidences and just release it all. Just bring it all to the front. There's that, unless you just lie to yourself or unless you are just an absolute hardcore skeptic or you're hardcore into religion and your religion won't allow you to believe these things because it goes against your religious beliefs. So they just don't exist. You just throw them out. I don't know that there's a rational person that can watch things like all of the different reports and pictures and videos of the Phoenix lights, that can watch things like the gimbal and that can watch see things coming out of Catalina Island, that can take a look at cattle mutilations and take a look at all these things that are happening that we don't have an answer for and say that it's not attributable to something that we don't understand, something that's bigger than us. And with that in mind, I think that I think the general population is ready for full disclosure. I don't think they're going to give it to us, though. I think it's just going to be little snippets. Like, I don't think we'll see one now for a couple years as far as UFO encounters with the Navy, even though they're probably happening every day. Well, maybe not every day. Weekly, let's say.
Would you believe it if the government, the United States government, was like, okay, guys, we are going to release everything that we have. And we're going to do it tomorrow. And then they release at 1,000 to 500,000 pages. Would you believe that A, it's real, and 2, that it was everything?
Well, to answer that's pretty easy because number one, I already believe it's real. So their disclosure isn't going to make me believe it's real. I already believe it's real.
Right. I'm not saying, do you believe that extraterrestrial life is here and exists? I'm saying, would you believe the information that the United States government was releasing?
No, because I would never thoroughly believe. They've lied so frequently and for so long that I would never believe that it was full disclosure. I would appreciate the fact that they threw out 500,000 pages and videos and photographs and stuff like that I could look at myself and I could make my own intelligent, rational decision. I would appreciate that. I would be a fan of that. But do I think that I would trust them that was everything? No. They've lied too long. It's like what was it, Chicken Little, right? The sky is falling, or Peter and the Wolf, where he's crying wolf all the time. And then after a while, nobody listens anymore. Everybody's done listening, and I think that's where we're at. It's like a fable. I think they've lied for so long, tried to cover up so much, that how could you believe them at all moving forward? You can't. They're not trustworthy. But I would appreciate, like I said, if they released 500,000 documents of data that we could comb through, because we'd have a hell of a lot of good shows coming up if that happens.
We'd have to change the name.
We'd be like yeah, exactly. We'd have to come up with something that would be like UFO.
The new name of the show would be "They Are Here."
Yeah,
with Mike and Dave.
Yeah, exactly.
Anthony, what's your take?
No, I wouldn't believe everything that I can't see how you would believe everything that they give you is everything that's there. Like, it's just been proven time after time that the only way that you're going to pry these answers out is through force. I mean, they're not going to release everything. Then they look at it as, this is in your best interest because you can't handle it. But who are they to determine what we can and can't handle? I mean, it would be altering definitely for everyone, because I think at the point of you're American, you're Canadian, you're Australian, you're European, like that kind of, if they are from outer space and they're extraterrestrial, that all kind of goes away. You're not really an American. You're not really an Australian. You're an Earthling. You're from Earth. You're not, it kind of breaks those barriers down, erases the lines, and gets rid of all that stuff. At least in the big picture, to me, at least. And yeah, I just think it's going to come out by accident or by people exposing stuff. I don't think that there'll always be a reason to push it, kick that can down the road.
I mean, and Dave, I'm surprised you haven't brought it up. And Anthony and I did last week, just briefly, but the whole fake alien invasion.
Yeah.
That we were told about. I mean, how?
Yeah, it popped into my head already. The sausage factory out in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's already been it's flashed into my head about 5 or 6 times. I just didn't bring it up.
But I did last week, just briefly, because that again goes to, the government's not mentality, but motivation, and I guess that could be another sign, as opposed to, the church is changing the narrative. But if the government all of a sudden released a whole bunch of information on extraterrestrial life, are they doing it because they think it's time to release real information, or is the information going to be doctored to set up for the fake?
Right.
Or what are they? Or if they're releasing that information, what exactly are they trying to hide? What worse thing is hidden there that they're not telling you?
Right.
Why are they trying to make us put all of our attention to the right when they're over here on the left? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like Area 1 and Area 51 and Area 52. That's been like the comedy for a long time, right? All this attention was focused on Area 51 because right down the road at Area 52 is where all the shit was really happening. But they made such a big deal out of Area 51. Nobody bothered looking around. Everybody was just like focused on Area 51 and trying to climb up on the Camelback Mountains and try to, get a picture or to make an observation or whatever.
And maybe this was what I was going to talk about earlier, the point that you made, Anthony, about the mystery of it. The more people don't know about something, the more they want to know about something.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the more the government protests, the more people want to know why they're protesting so much. And
yeah.
and so I'm wondering if all of this new books and videos and everything is their way of being like, hey, look, it's all out in the open. There's nothing more to look at. It's all here. To try and get you to stop looking because, hey, you already have it. It's giving that little piece, putting the carrot on the end of the stick to give you just enough to not bother to look at the deep part of it, or look deep enough, I should say.
So I got two thoughts that I want to kick out before we sign off. So, and I
Sure.
hope I'm wrong, but number one, I can just, and I don't know why this popped into my head as we were talking, but number one, I think if we ever get on the verge of a nuclear war or a nuclear obliteration, that if UFOs are real, and I know they are, but I'm just saying, just in general, if they're real, they're not going to allow us to blow ourselves up with nuclear devices. So that day of disclosure, that day of reckoning, when we're like, well, we're just going to send some, I can just see Trump thumping his chest. Well, we're going to send 10 nukes over to Iran, and we're just going to, turn it into just a sand field, they're not going to let that happen, right? They've already proven that they can manipulate our nuclear launch, our nuclear warheads, and shut down nuclear launch facilities. It's already happened many, 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 many times in the past. So I think that you would maybe see legitimately like a couple of ships show up over the nuclear warheads and be like, yeah, you're not going anywhere. You're just going to sit right there in the tube. I think the second, so I hope I'm wrong there, but I think if that ever comes to that, I think that that would be the perfect timing for an alien race to let their presence be known and basically be like, you know what? You're not in charge. You're not in control. You can stop beating on your chest. You're never going to launch these things. You can build as many warheads as you want. You're never going to send one. It's never going to happen. We're not going to let you. Number two, I think, and as we were talking about disclosure and stuff, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit here, even to what I said. I think if I were to find out that Pope Leo was a reptilian, or that Trump was a reptilian, or that world leaders, right, that they were some alien race, I think that would bother me if I found that out. Like I think that I would have a really hard time digesting that, and then I would go back and be extremely critical of all the decisions that were made by that entity, by that race, as they're manipulating Earthlings, manipulating mankind, leading them down a path they want us to be on. I would have as an Earthling, I would have a problem with that.
I would have zero issue or zero surprise in Trump being a lizard person. Just want to throw that out there. Zero. I'd be like, that's like in Men in Black when they talk about Dennis Rodman being from another country. They're like, well, that's not much of a disguise.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't think Trump is a lizard man because they could do better.
Well, he'd be more intelligent.
It would just be better.
Yeah, it would just be better. Right.
It's the same as my friends when I got into the paranormal field saying that they would know that I'm possessed because I'll get nicer.
Right.
So this is the same thing. If a lizard person could probably do a lot better job. Just saying. Stephen Miller, on the other hand, is 100% a lizard person. Just want to say. Like, I can't believe that hasn't even come out. Anyway, Anthony, any final words?
No, pretty much tapped on everything, I think, as far as continuing the topic. Good to see Dave back.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be back.
let's keep it up now until the next holiday when you take off.
There aren't any holidays coming up.
Labor Day. It's only month and a half away.
Yeah, well, we never do a show on Labor Day weekend, so.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'll probably take it off as well. But Anthony, unless Dave decides to, I shouldn't say decides, unless he needs another day off. Yeah. Coming up, won't see you for a while, and we are going to try and get Chris Bledsoe on the show. So remember to bring you on for that one. But yeah. So if anybody has, any UFO, UAP, USO type of opinion that they would like to share with us or whatever, you can obviously send it to odysseyfilesradio@gmail.com or send a message from our website, odysseyfilesradio.com. Wow, I haven't pitched that for a while. You can obviously see our shows on YouTube, Facebook, and on our website. But Anthony, thank you for coming on. I mean, I thank you every day.
Oh, you're welcome.
But for the last, month and a half, 2 months coming on, being my co-host, giving me a lot of like brand new types of topics to delve into. Dave and I talk about it all the time. When you do 343 shows, you tend to run out of certain topics.
Sometimes it gets difficult to think of something new and fresh. Yes.
But thank you for doing that.
My pleasure.
And again, anybody who wants to continue seeing Anthony's research and hopefully coming soon, his actual voice explaining it all to everybody, go to YouTube and do Crossroads of the Veil. Still like that name. And you can keep up with Anthony, and you'll probably see him again here, in the coming future at some point. But Dave, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you.
Looking forward to another, now that we can have guests again.
Yeah.
Dave was taking exception to us having guests when he's not here to interview them as well.
Chris Bledsoe was one of them, and I was like, if you guys are gonna have Chris, whatever, I don't care how I'm feeling, I'm sneaking in there or something. I don't give a shit if I'm pasty white and my oxygen levels are at like 58%. My heart's ready to just stop. I'm still getting in on a couple. I'm still getting a couple questions in.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
But we'll be back next week with another brand new episode. I think we're finally going to do the Peruvian face peelers.
Yep, we are. Looking forward
next
to
week.
That. It's a good story.
And well, I guess I won't say that because you're not up for mailbox yet.
Not yet.
So
yeah.
But we will be in it hopefully another couple of weeks. So if anybody has any paranormal questions or stories that you would like to send in, obviously go to the website or odysseyfilesradio@gmail.com. So for all of us here at the Odyssey Files Ranch, I wish everybody a good rest of the weekend. Stay healthy, stay safe. We'll see you next time.